The big round room on Space Station Nexus Prime was filled with strange sounds. Different aliens were talking in their own languages, but special machines changed their words so everyone could understand each other. The room had lights that moved in soft colors, and the air smelled like metal and something sweet. Ambassador Zix Thala stood in the middle of the room. She looked like she was made of clear glass, but she could move and talk. Light went through her body and made pretty rainbow colors on the walls. She was the leader of today's meeting, and she looked very worried. "My friends from many worlds," she said in a voice that sounded like music, "we have a big problem today. We need to change our safety book right away." All the aliens in the room started to whisper and look scared. There were 47 different types of aliens sitting around the big table. Some were tall, some were short, some had fur, and some had scales. They all looked at Zix Thala with big eyes. Commander Thalvex was a very tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. He leaned forward and asked, "What kind of space danger makes us need to change our rules so fast?" Zix Thala's glass body became darker, which meant she was upset. "It is not a space danger, Commander. It is a people danger. The humans have been part of our space family for only 3 years, but they have already made us write a whole new book about safety." A small alien named Echo made clicking sounds with her mouth. She was only as tall as a human child, but she was very smart. "You must be joking, Ambassador. One group of people cannot need so many new rules." Zix Thala waved her hand, and a big picture appeared in the air above the table. It showed the cover of a thick book. "I show you chapter 47 of our safety book. It is called How to Stay Safe Around Humans and What to Do When They Do Crazy Things. This chapter has 2,847 pages, and we add more pages every day." All the aliens made sounds of surprise. Their mouths opened wide, and some of them fell back in their chairs. The alien from the water world spoke through a special suit that let her breathe air. Her voice sounded like bubbles popping. "This book chapter is bigger than our whole section about how to mine dangerous stars safely." "Yes, that is right," Zix Thala said sadly. "Today I will tell you about 3 things that humans did. After you hear these stories, you will understand why we need so many new safety rules." The other aliens looked at each other with worried faces. They had heard stories about humans before, but they thought the stories were just jokes. Dr. Kelther was an alien who looked like a walking tree with many arms. He spoke in a deep voice that sounded like wind in leaves. "Ambassador, surely humans cannot be as dangerous as you say. They are small creatures with soft skin and no natural weapons." Zix Thala's body flashed bright for a moment, which meant she was getting angry. "Dr. Kelther, that is exactly why they are so dangerous. They have no natural weapons, so they make weapons out of everything. They have soft skin, so they wear protection made from the hardest materials in the galaxy. They are small, so they build machines that make them stronger than any of us." Another alien named Vexmari raised one of her 6 hands. She had purple skin and eyes that glowed green. "But surely they follow safety rules like everyone else?" "That is the problem," Zix Thala said. "Humans do not just break safety rules. They break safety rules while saving everyone's life. They do impossible things that should kill them, but instead they succeed and make us all look foolish." The room became very quiet. The aliens were starting to understand that this was not a joke. Echo clicked her tongue nervously. "What do you mean they break rules while saving lives?" Zix Thala moved to the side of the room where a big screen was hanging on the wall. "Humans have a saying. When they are about to do something very dangerous and very stupid, they say, 'Hold my beer.' This phrase now appears in our safety manual 847 times. It is the most feared sentence in 17 different languages. Commander Thalvex laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. You are afraid of humans asking someone to hold their drink? Yes, Zixthala said very seriously. Because when a human says, hold my beer, they are about to do something that will either save everyone or kill everyone. Sometimes both. Water alien gurgled loudly. How can something both save everyone and kill everyone? That is what makes humans so scary, Zixthala explained. They do things that should not work. They use broken equipment to fix important machines. They go into dangerous places without protection. They ignore every safety rule we have ever made. And then they succeed. Dr. Kelther's tree-like arms waved in the air. But why do they do these things? Do they want to die? No, Zixthala said. They do these things because they want to live. But more than that, they want everyone else to live too. When humans see a problem, they do not think about safety first. They think about fixing the problem first. Safety comes second, if at all. The aliens looked at each other with new understanding. They were starting to see why humans were so dangerous. The 3 stories I will tell you today, Zixthala continued, show exactly why we need new safety rules. The first story is about a human who went into a broken star machine to fix it with his bare hands. The second story is about a human who stopped a war by flying her tiny ship between 2 giant war fleets. The third story is about a human who saved a lost ship by flying into the most dangerous place in the galaxy. All the aliens leaned forward in their seats. They wanted to hear these stories, but they were also afraid of what they might learn. Are you ready to hear why humans are the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy? Zixthala asked. The aliens nodded, even though they were not sure they really wanted to know. The big picture screen in the middle of the room showed a huge space station. It was called Mining Station Omega-7, and it was as big as a small moon. The station was floating near a giant planet made of gas and storms. Thousands of bright lights twinkled on the station's surface, showing where people lived and worked. This is the first story, Zixthala said to all the aliens sitting around the table. It happened 6 months ago. A human named Jake Morrison was working on the station. As an engineer, he was supposed to check the big machine that makes power for the whole station. The picture changed to show the inside of the station. There were long metal hallways with bright lights on the ceiling. Workers from many different planets walked through the halls. Some had fur, some had scales, and some looked like Jake Morrison, the human with brown hair and clothes covered in oil stains. Mining Station Omega-7 had 47,000 workers, Zixthala continued. They came from 12 different worlds. The station was mining special gas from the big planet to make fuel for spaceships. It was very important work. The aliens watching the story could see Jake Morrison in a big room full of computers and flashing lights. He was looking at numbers on a screen, and his face looked worried. Red lights were flashing everywhere, and loud alarm sounds were going off. Jake was doing his normal job, Zixthala explained. He was checking to make sure the power machine was working right, but something went very wrong. The machine that keeps the starfire contained started to break. On the screen, other workers were running around and looking scared. The starfire was the super hot energy that powered the whole station. It was hotter than the center of a star, and it was kept safe inside a special force field. If the force field broke, the starfire would destroy everything. Engineer Velther came running into the room where Jake was working. Velther was a crystalline alien like Zixthala, but he was smaller, and his crystal body was blue instead of clear. He was shaking with fear. Morrison, Velther said in a scared voice, the containment field is failing. We have to get everyone off the station right now. Jake kept looking at his computer screen. Numbers were flashing red, and graphs showed bad things happening to the power machine. "How long do we have?" he asked. "The machine will explode in 1.3 hours, Belther said. But it takes 4.7 hours to get everyone off the station safely. We cannot save everyone." Jake stared at the numbers for a long time. His face had the look that humans get when they are thinking of something dangerous. All the aliens in the meeting room recognized this look now. It was in their safety manual as the look that means trouble. What if someone went inside the machine room? Jake asked. Could they fix it from the inside? Velther's crystal body turned almost white with fear. No, Morrison. The radiation inside would kill any living thing in minutes. Even our best protection suits would not work. It is impossible. But Jake was not listening anymore. He was looking at the screen and thinking. His hands moved over the controls, checking different systems. The other workers could see him getting an idea, and they started to look worried. The machine room is in the center of the station, Zix Thala told the aliens at the meeting. It is surrounded by thick metal walls and force fields. The radiation inside is so strong that it would cook any normal person instantly. On the screen, Jake stood up and walked to a closet full of protective equipment. He started pulling out different pieces of clothing and gear. He took a human spacesuit and began adding pieces from other alien equipment. "What are you doing?" Velther asked. Jake looked at him with a smile that made all the aliens very nervous. "I am going to fix this thing." "You cannot," Velther said. "You will die." Jake picked up a bottle of human beer from his desk. It was a brown bottle with a label that said, "Earth Beer, Best in the Galaxy." He handed the bottle to Velther, who took it with confused crystal hands. "Hold my beer," Jake said. Everyone in the meeting room made sounds of fear when they heard these words. Even though the story happened months ago, the aliens still got scared when they heard humans say this phrase. Morrison began putting on the most dangerous combination of protective gear ever assembled, Zix Thala continued. He wore a human spacesuit as the base layer. Then he added crystalline radiation shields, which were never meant to be used with human equipment. He connected Helix Empire energy cells to power the shields, even though Helix and human technology do not work together. On the screen, Jake was like a child playing with toys that did not fit together. He used tape and wire to connect alien technology to his human suit. Sparks flew from the connections, and the suit made strange buzzing sounds. He also added cooling systems from the water world people, Zix Thala said. These systems were designed to keep fish-like aliens cool underwater, not to protect humans from starfire radiation. The other workers on the station watched Jake put on his strange suit. They all knew he was about to do something crazy, but they also knew that someone had to try to fix the machine or everyone would die. The suit should have exploded when he turned it on, Zix Thala told the meeting. Human technology and alien technology are not supposed to work together. But Jake Morrison made it work with tape, wire, and what humans call creative thinking. Jake walked toward the door that led to the machine room. The door was thick metal with warning signs in many languages. All the signs said the same thing. Danger radiation. Death, do not enter. Morrison, Velther called out. Please do not do this. Find another way. Jake turned around and smiled. There is no other way. If I do not fix this, everyone dies. If I try to fix this, maybe everyone lives. The math is easy. He opened the door and walked into the machine room. The door closed behind him with a loud metal sound. On the screens, in the control room, the other workers could see Jake's life signs. His heart was beating very fast, but he was still alive. Jake Morrison spent the next 47 minutes inside the machine room, Zix Thala said. He was surrounded by radiation that would kill any known life form. He had to manually adjust the containment field generators with his hands while the starfire burned just a few feet away from him. The aliens in the meeting room watched the numbers on the screen change as Jake worked. The red warning lights slowly turned yellow, then green. The machine was working again. Morrison saved the station, Zixthala said. All 47,000 workers lived because one human decided to do something impossible. But he also broke 17 safety rules, used equipment in ways it was never designed to be used, and created a new category of safety violation that we had to add to our manual. Commander Thalvex leaned forward. Did the human die from the radiation? No, Zixthala said sadly. When Jake came out of the machine room, he took off his suit and asked for his beer back. He said the radiation gave him a headache, but it was no worse than a hangover. He went back to work the next day. All the aliens in the room were quiet. For a long time, they were trying to understand how a human could survive something that should have killed him. This is why we need new safety rules, Zixthala said. Humans do not think about safety the same way we do. They think about solving problems first and staying alive second. They make impossible things possible, but they scare everyone else while they do it. The story was over, but the aliens knew there were 2 more stories to hear. They were starting to understand why humans were so dangerous to have around. The big screen changed to show empty space between 2 groups of warships. The ships were so big, they looked like floating cities with weapons pointing at each other. The space between them crackled with energy, and everyone could feel the danger even through the screen. This is the second story, Zixthala said to the aliens at the meeting. It happened during peace talks between the Helix Empire and the Void Wanderers. These 2 groups had been fighting for many years, and finally they agreed to try to make peace. The picture showed hundreds of warships on each side. The Helix Empire ships were long and silver, with sharp edges like knives. The Void Wanderer ships were dark and round, with weapons that glowed purple. Both groups had enough weapons to destroy entire planets. The peace talks were held in neutral space, Zixthala continued. Many alien diplomats came to help, including myself. We thought we could help them stop fighting and become friends. On the screen, a small human ship appeared between the 2 big fleets. It was called the Harmony, and it looked very tiny compared to the warships around it. Inside the ship, a woman named Lisa Rodriguez stood in the control room, looking at the screens showing both fleets. Lisa was tall with gray streaks in her black hair. She wore a blue uniform with gold buttons, and her face looked calm even though she was in the middle of 2 angry armies. She was the human ambassador, which meant she spoke for all humans in the peace talks. The talks were going very badly, Zixthala said. Both sides were angry and did not trust each other. They kept arguing about who was right and who was wrong. After 3 days of talking, nothing had been solved. The screen showed the meeting room where all the diplomats were sitting. Aliens from many different worlds were there, trying to help. The Helix Empire and Void Wanderers make peace. But the 2 groups kept yelling at each other and making threats. Then something terrible happened, Zixthala continued. Both fleets began moving their ships into attack positions. They were getting ready to fight, even though they had promised to keep the peace during the talks. Lisa Rodriguez stood in her ship watching the warships move. Her aide, a young human man named Tony Kim, was looking at the computer screens with worry on his face. "Ma'am," Tony said, "both fleets are moving to battle stations. They are going to start shooting at each other." Lisa studied the screens showing the positions of all the ships. The Helix Empire ships were moving to the left, and the Void Wanderer ships were moving to the right. Soon they would be in the perfect position to start a war that would kill millions of people. The mediator team decided to evacuate immediately, Zixthala told the meeting. We moved our ships to a safe distance and prepared to watch the battle begin. There was nothing more we could do. The screen showed the diplomats' ships moving away from the war zone. But the human ship Harmony stayed right where it was, floating in the dangerous space between the two fleets. "Ambassador Rodriguez," came a voice on the radio. It was Zix Thala's voice from months ago. "You must evacuate immediately. Both fleets are preparing to attack. Your ship will be destroyed if you stay there." Lisa looked at the screens, showing the warships getting closer to battle positions. She could see the weapons charging up, and the shields getting stronger. In a few minutes, the shooting would start. "Ma'am," Tony said, "we need to leave now. There is nothing we can do to stop this." Lisa picked up her coffee cup from the table next to her chair. It was a white cup with blue letters that said, "World's Best Diplomat." She looked at the cup for a moment, then handed it to Tony. "Hold my beer." She said not all the aliens in the meeting room made sounds of fear when they heard these words. They knew that when humans said this phrase, they were about to do something crazy. "What Ambassador Rodriguez did next," Zix Thala said, "has been studied by every diplomatic school in the galaxy. It was either the smartest or the most stupid thing anyone has ever done during peace talks." The screen showed Lisa walking to the back of her ship where the small repair ships were kept. These were tiny vehicles used to fix broken equipment outside the main ship. They had very little protection and no weapons at all. Lisa took control of a maintenance pod. Zix Thala continued. "These pods are designed for simple repairs, not for flying between angry war fleets." But Lisa flew her little pod directly between the two armies. The screen showed the tiny pod flying away from the Harmony toward the space between the fleets. It looked like a small insect flying between two giants. The pod had no shields, no weapons, and no protection except thin metal walls. "This is Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez of the Human Diplomatic Corps." Lisa's voice came over the radio to both fleets. "I am now sitting exactly between your fleets. If you want to start your war, you will have to shoot through me first." The alien watching the story could see both fleet commanders appearing on their screens. The Helix Empire commander was a tall warrior with red skin and angry eyes. The Void Wanderer commander looked like a giant spider with purple fur and many legs. "Ambassador," the Helix commander said, "your little ship means nothing to us. We will not stop our attack because of one small human." "Oh, I know my ship is tiny," Lisa said calmly, "but I am human. And humans do incredibly stupid things when they are trying to make a point. So here is what I am offering you." Lisa's pod sat perfectly still in the space between the two fleets. Every weapon on both sides was now pointed at her location. "You can go back to the peace talks and try to work out your problems with words," Lisa continued. "Or you can kill me and start your war. But if you kill me, everyone in the galaxy will know that you needed to murder a diplomat to begin your fight." The Void Wanderer commander made clicking sounds that meant he was laughing. "You think we care what other people think about us?" "I think you care very much," Lisa replied. "Both of your species are proud of being honorable warriors. But there is no honor in killing someone who came here to make peace. If you shoot me, you will be known forever as the cowards who murdered a diplomat." The screen showed both fleets stopping their movement. The commanders were talking to their officers, and the aliens could see them arguing about what to do. The psychological impact was devastating. Zix Thala explained to the meeting. Both the Helix Empire and the Void Wanderers built their entire cultures around the idea of honorable combat. The thought of being remembered as the ones who killed a peacemaker was unacceptable to them. The Helix commander spoke first. "Ambassador, you cannot stop this war by sacrificing yourself." "I am not trying to stop the war," Lisa said. "I am trying to make you think about what kind of people you want to be. Do you want to be the ones who solve their problems by talking, Or do you want to be the ones who solve their problems by killing diplomats? The Void Wanderer commander was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke in a voice that sounded tired. What do you propose, human? I propose that you back your ships away from attack positions, Lisa said. I propose that you come back to the peace talks. I propose that you try to solve your problems without killing millions of people. And I propose that you do it because it is the right thing to do, not because I am sitting here. The screen showed both fleets slowly moving back to their original positions. The weapons powered down, and the shields got weaker. The war that was about to start was stopped. The peace talks resumed the next day, Zixthala said. Both sides signed a treaty that ended their war. Millions of lives were saved because one human decided to park her tiny ship between two armies and dare them to shoot her. Commander Thalvex looked amazed. Did the human survive? Yes, Zixthala said. Ambassador Rodriguez flew her pod back to the Harmony, asked for her coffee back, and went back to work. She wrote in her official report that it was just another day at the office. The aliens in the meeting room were quiet. They were starting to understand that humans did not think about danger the same way other species did. This incident required us to create new rules about human diplomats, Zixthala said. We now have special protocols for when humans are involved in peace talks. We also provide psychological counseling for non-human diplomats who work with humans because their methods can be very stressful to watch. The story was over, but there was still one more story to hear. The aliens were beginning to understand why humans were so dangerous to have around, even when they were trying to help. The big screen changed to show a scary part of space called the Crimson Nebula. It looked like a giant red cloud that twisted and moved in strange ways. Lightning flashed inside it, and the whole thing glowed with an evil red light that made everyone feel afraid just looking at it. This is the third story, Zixthala said to the aliens at the meeting. It is about the research ship Starlight that got lost in the Crimson Nebula. The nebula is one of the most dangerous places in the galaxy. Space itself is broken there. The picture showed the nebula spinning slowly in the darkness. It was huge, bigger than most solar systems. Strange energy moved through it like living things, and the red light pulsed like a heartbeat. The Crimson Nebula does terrible things to ships that go inside, Zixthala continued. Time moves differently in some places, so you might age 10 years in 1 minute. Gravity pulls in all directions at once, so ships get crushed or torn apart. And energy storms can fry all the electronics on a ship. On the screen, a building appeared where aliens from many worlds were working together. This was the Rescue Command Center, and everyone looked very worried. They had big computers and screens showing the nebula, and they were all trying to figure out how to save the lost ship. The research ship Starlight went into the nebula to study it, Zixthala said. But something went wrong, and they lost contact with the outside world. The ship had 87 crew members from 14 different planets. They were all trapped inside the nebula. The aliens at the meeting could see the rescue teams working day and night to find a way to help. Scientists studied the nebulas patterns, engineers designed new equipment, and mathematicians calculated the safest path through the dangerous space. After 3 days of trying, the official rescue mission was called off, Zixthala said sadly. Every expert agreed that it was impossible to go into the nebula safely. The rescue teams decided that the Starlight and her crew were lost forever. The screen changed to show a human ship called the Phoenix. It was not very big, but it looked strong and well used. The ship had scars on its hull from many dangerous missions, and the crew inside looked like they were used to taking risks. Chris Palmer stood in the control room of the Phoenix. He was a man with gray hair and old scars on his face. His clothes were practical and worn, like someone who worked with his hands. He was reading a report about the failed rescue mission. "The official rescue is over," Chris told his crew. "Command says the nebula is too dangerous. They think the starlight is lost, and they do not want to lose any more ships trying to save them." His chief engineer was a woman named Amy Chun. She had short black hair and grease stains on her uniform. She looked angry as she read the report. "So we are just going to abandon them? There are 87 people in there." "That is what Command wants," Chris said. "They think it is too risky to try a rescue. They say we should accept the loss and move on." The crew of the Phoenix looked at each other with expressions that the aliens now recognized as dangerous. These were humans who were getting ready to do something crazy. "Command can think whatever they want," Chris said. "But I did not ask Command what they think." Chris walked to his desk and picked up a cup of coffee. It was a metal cup with dents in it, like it had been used for many years. He handed the cup to Amy, who took it with a knowing look. "Hold my beer," Chris said. All the aliens in the meeting room made sounds of fear when they heard these words. They knew that something impossible was about to happen. Captain Palmer proposed something that violated every rule of safe space travel, Zixthala told the meeting. He wanted to modify the Phoenix with technology from many different alien species. The plan was theoretically impossible and practically insane. The screen showed the Phoenix in a space dock where crews were working on it around the clock. Human engineers were installing equipment from other worlds, connecting systems that were never meant to work together. "They put crystalline phase shifters on the ship," Zixthala continued. "These devices can make a ship slip through time distortions. But they were designed for crystal-based life forms, not for humans or their technology." The aliens could see workers attaching crystal devices to the Phoenix's hull. Sparks flew as human technology was connected to alien systems, and the ship began to glow with strange colors. "They also installed Helix Empire gravity generators," Zixthala said. "These could help the ship navigate through the gravitational problems in the nebula. But Helix technology uses energy patterns that can kill humans." More workers were adding devices that looked like spinning metal balls. These were connected to the ship's power system with cables that were not designed to carry that much energy. "The most dangerous addition was the aquatic bioneural network," Zixthala continued. "This is a living computer made from the brain tissue of water-world creatures. It can predict energy storms, but it needs to be kept in a liquid environment. That is poisonous to most other life forms." The screen showed a tank full of blue liquid being installed in the Phoenix's control room. Strange tentacle-like wires connected the tank to the ship's computers, and the liquid glowed with its own light. "The finished ship was a nightmare of incompatible systems," Zixthala said. "Nothing should have worked together. The different technologies should have destroyed each other the moment they were turned on. But somehow the Phoenix worked. The hybrid systems hummed with power, and the ship lifted off from the space dock. It looked strange with all the different alien technologies attached to it, but it flew toward the Crimson Nebula. The journey into the nebula took 23 hours, Zixthala continued. The Phoenix had to navigate through time distortions. That could age the crew, gravity wells that could crush the ship, and energy storms that could fry every system on board. The screen showed the Phoenix entering the red clouds of the nebula. The ship twisted and warped as it passed through areas where time moved differently. The hull cracked and sparked as gravity pulled it in different directions. The crystalline phase shifters allowed the ship to slip through time pockets, Zixthala said. The Helix gravity generators kept the ship together when space tried to tear it apart. The aquatic bioneural network predicted energy storms and found safe paths through the chaos. The aliens watched as the Phoenix flew deeper into the nebula. The ship looked like it was being tortured by the strange forces inside the red cloud, but it kept moving forward. After 47 hours of searching, Zixthala said. The Phoenix found the starlight. The research ship was trapped in a pocket of twisted space-time, unable to move or communicate with the outside world. The screen showed the moment of rescue. The Phoenix used its modified systems to reach the starlight and attach rescue cables. Both ships then began the dangerous journey back out of the nebula. But that was not the most amazing part of the story, Zixthala continued. While rescuing the starlight, the Phoenix crew discovered something incredible. There was life inside. The nebula, creatures made of pure energy that lived in the space distortions. The aliens at the meeting gasped. Life in the Crimson Nebula was thought to be impossible. But the screen showed strange glowing beings that moved through the red clouds like fish swimming in water. The discovery of energy-based life forms was the most important scientific finding in decades, Zixthala said. It changed everything we thought we knew about how life could exist in the universe. Commander Thalvex leaned forward. What was the cost of this success? Surely the ship and crew were badly damaged. The Phoenix suffered 17 hull breaches, Zixthala replied. 43% of the ship's systems failed completely. The time distortions aged the entire crew by 2 years, and the energy. Storms gave everyone radiation poisoning. The aliens winced at the thought of such damage. Captain Palmer's official report about the mission was very short, Zixthala continued. He wrote, "Mission successful. Starlight crew rescued. New life. Forms discovered. Ship needs repairs. Worth it." The screen showed the Phoenix limping back to the space dock. The ship was barely holding together, with holes in the hull and smoke coming from the engines. But both crews were alive, and they had made the greatest discovery in galactic history. This rescue mission led to the development of new exploration ships, Zixthala said. The hybrid technology that Captain Palmer created is now used by ships throughout the galaxy. But it also gave us new categories of safety violations and required us to create emergency procedures for when humans modify their ships with alien technology. The story was over, but the aliens were still amazed by what they had heard. They were beginning to understand that humans did not just break rules. They broke rules and somehow made things better in the process. These 3 stories show why we need special safety protocols for humans, Zixthala said. They do impossible things and succeed, but they terrify everyone else while they do it. The big screen went dark, and Ambassador Zixthala moved back to the center of the meeting room. Her crystal body was much darker now than when the meeting started, which meant she was very tired and stressed. All the aliens sitting around. Table looked shocked by the 3 stories they had just heard. "My fellow delegates," Zixthala said in a voice that sounded exhausted, "these 3 incidents show you only a small part of what we have experienced since humans joined our galactic community. In just 3 years, they have created more safety problems than we have seen in the last 100 years. Echo, the small clicking alien, raised one of her tiny hands. Ambassador, what do you think we should do about this human problem? Zixthala's crystal body flickered with different colors as she thought about the question. We have created new safety rules specifically for humans. These rules will help us deal with their unpredictable behavior and keep everyone safer. She waved her hand, and the big screen showed a list of new rules written in many different languages. The list was very long and kept scrolling down for several minutes. First, Zixthala said, we now require mandatory reporting whenever a human says the phrase "hold my beer" or anything similar in any language. When this happens, all nearby personnel must immediately contact the human unpredictability response team. The aliens looked at each other with worried expressions. They had never heard of needing special teams just to watch one species before. Second, Zixthala continued, we have created human creativity assessment tests. These tests will help us identify when humans are about to try something dangerous before they actually do it. If a human scores too high on creativity, they will be assigned a safety monitor. Dr. Kelther, the tree-like alien, raised several of his branch arms. How do you test for creativity? And why is creativity dangerous? Human creativity is dangerous because they use it to solve problems in ways that no one else would think of. Zixthala explained. They see broken equipment and think, I can fix this with tape and spare parts. They see impossible situations and think, I can make this work somehow. Normal people see problems and look for safe solutions. Humans see problems and invent new solutions that should not work, but somehow do. The screen showed examples of human creativity tests. One test asked humans what they would do if their spaceship's life support failed. The safe answer was contact rescue services and wait for help. The dangerous human answer was build a new life support system using kitchen equipment and spare clothing. Third, Zixthala said, we are establishing the Human Unpredictability Response Team. This team will be specially trained to handle situations where humans have ignored safety protocols and done something that should be impossible. Commander. Thalvex looked confused. What kind of training does this team need? They need psychological training to stay calm when humans do crazy things, Zixthala replied. They need engineering training to understand how human modifications actually work. And they need medical training to treat both humans who have survived impossible situations and non-humans who have nervous breakdowns from watching humans work. The aliens murmured among themselves. They were starting to understand how much work it would take to keep humans safe. Fourth, Zixthala continued, we are installing human behavioral monitoring systems on all stations and ships with human crew. Members, these systems will watch for warning signs that humans are about to do something dangerous. The screen showed a list of warning signs that the monitoring systems would look for. The list included things like human staring at broken equipment for more than 5 minutes, human asking about radiation levels in restricted areas, and human collecting spare parts from different alien technologies. Fifth, Zixthala said, we are providing emergency psychological counseling for all non-human crew members who work with humans. Many aliens experience stress, anxiety, and panic attacks when they watch humans solve problems. The water world. Alien gurgled sadly. I worked with humans for 2 months. I had to take stress medication the entire time. Every day they did things that should have killed them, but they always survived and acted like it was normal. Sixth, Zixthala continued, we are creating a new insurance category called Acts of Human Ingenuity. This will cover damage caused when humans fix problems using methods that are not in any instruction manual. The aliens looked at each other with understanding. They had all heard stories about humans fixing important equipment with materials that were never meant to be used. Together, these new rules will help us manage the human problem, Zixthala said, but we all know that humans will continue to surprise us. They do not think like other species. Where we see rules, they see suggestions. Where we see danger, they see challenges to overcome. Echo clicked her tongue nervously. Do you think these rules will be enough to keep humans under control? I do not think anything can keep humans under control, Zixthala replied honestly. But these rules will help us prepare for whatever they do next. We can at least try to predict their unpredictability. The voting process began. Each alien species had to decide whether to approve the new human safety protocols. One by one, they raised their hands, tentacles, claws, or whatever they used to indicate agreement. The vote was unanimous. All 47 species agreed that the new rules were necessary. The human-specific safety protocols are now officially adopted, Zixthala announced. They will be implemented on all stations, ships, and facilities throughout the galaxy within 30 days. The aliens began to gather their papers and prepare to leave the meeting. They were all talking quietly about the stories they had heard and wondering what humans would do next. But before anyone could leave, an emergency alert sounded throughout the meeting room. Red lights flashed, and a loud siren made everyone cover their ears. The big screen activated automatically, showing an emergency broadcast. "This is Emergency Alert System Alpha 7, came a mechanical voice. "We have a code human situation on mining asteroid 7734B. All available response teams report immediately." The screen showed a human mining crew working on a large asteroid. The miners were wearing heavy protective suits and using big machines to dig valuable minerals out of the rock. But something was wrong. The asteroid was shaking and cracking in dangerous ways. "This is Miner Joe Davis," came a human voice over the radio. "We have got a big problem here. The asteroid is breaking apart from the inside. All the mining has made it unstable, and it is going to collapse in about an hour." The aliens watching the screen could see the human miners running around and trying to fix the problem. But the asteroid was too damaged, and pieces of rock were already falling off into space. "The collapse will destroy the mining station and kill everyone on it," Joe continued. "But I think I can stop it if I can get to the center of the asteroid and manually stabilize the core structure." The other miners looked at Joe with expressions of fear and admiration. They knew what he was thinking, and they knew it was incredibly dangerous. "Joe, you cannot go into the asteroid core," said another miner. "The pressure will crush you, and the unstable rock will collapse on top of you. It is suicide." But Joe was already putting on extra protective gear and checking his equipment. He walked to a drilling machine and started modifying it with spare parts and tools that were not meant to be used together. "The core is 3 miles down through solid rock," Joe said. "But if I can get there and place support beams in the right places, I can stop the collapse. It is the only way to save everyone." Joe picked up a bottle of water that was sitting on a nearby table. He handed it to the miner standing next to him, who took it with shaking hands. "Hold my beer," Joe said, even though it was water. Every alien in the meeting room made sounds of horror when they heard these words. They knew that somewhere in the galaxy, a human was about to do something impossible and dangerous. "Emergency Protocol 47A is now in effect," Zix Thala announced to the meeting room. "The Human Unpredictability Response Team is being deployed to mining asteroid 7734B. All psychological counseling services are on standby." The aliens began filing out of the meeting room with expressions of resignation and fear. They had spent all day learning about human unpredictability, and now they were seeing it happen in real time. "Meeting officially adjourned," Zix Thala said with a sigh that sounded like breaking glass. "I will see you all next month, assuming the galaxy still exists by then." As the delegates left, they could hear Joe Davis on the radio describing his plan to drill through 3 miles of unstable rock to reach the asteroid's core. His voice was calm and confident, as if he was planning a routine maintenance task instead of a suicide mission. "The safety manual will need another update," Zix Thala said to herself as she turned off the lights in the meeting room. Chapter 47 will probably need to be expanded again. Outside the meeting room, the aliens walked through the corridors of the space station with worried expressions. They had learned today that humans were the most unpredictable species in the galaxy, and that no amount of safety rules could completely protect everyone from human ingenuity. But they had also learned that humans were willing to risk their lives to save others, even when the odds were impossible. And somehow, against all logic and reason, humans usually succeeded in their CR.